Behind these weathered stone walls lies America's darkest mirror. For nearly 2 centuries, Sing Sing has witnessed humanity's extremes, redemption and damnation dancing together in shadows. Picture this: you're walking past Ossining's quiet streets when suddenly massive fortress walls rise before you. Inside, 2,500 souls exist between punishment and possibility every single day. 1828. The Hudson River flows peacefully while contractors break ground on what will become America's most infamous penitentiary. They call it Sing Sing, after ancient native words. But here's the twisted irony. This prison, built to destroy men's spirits, would paradoxically become the birthplace of America's most revolutionary rehabilitation programs and theatrical productions. Tonight, we descend into the belly of the beast. We'll meet killers who became poets, guards who lost their humanity, and discover how stone walls sometimes cage society's conscience. Elam Lins believed in breaking spirits like horses. The warden's philosophy was simple: absolute silence, back-breaking labor, and psychological torture would transform criminals into obedient ghosts of men. Prisoners marched in lockstep, eyes downcast, forbidden to speak or even acknowledge each other's existence. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was suffocating, designed to crush the human soul completely. In the marble quarries, men swung hammers from dawn to dusk. Their hands bled, their backs screamed, but Lins believed physical agony would somehow purify their corrupted hearts. Meet prisoner 472, a young pickpocket named Thomas. He entered chattering nervously about his trial. Within months, the silence had carved hollow spaces where his laughter once lived. The silent system spread across America like a contagious disease. Foreign dignitaries visited Sing Sing, marveling at how efficiently America had learned to manufacture broken human beings. Yet something unexpected began stirring in 1847. A new chaplain arrived with radical ideas. Perhaps prisoners possess souls worth saving, not just spirits requiring systematic destruction. Books appeared in cells. Men learned to read by candlelight, their fingers tracing words like sacred artifacts. Knowledge became contraband more precious than tobacco or smuggled letters. The first Sing Sing newspaper launched in 1899. Suddenly, men who'd forgotten their own voices were writing editorials, poetry, and heartbreaking letters to families they had abandoned. Here stands the electric chair, Old Sparky. 614 souls met their end in this wooden throne between 1914 and 1963. Each execution was theater, grotesque and final. Ruth Snyder, the first woman executed at Sing Sing, walked to her death in 1928. A hidden camera captured her final moments. America watched death become entertainment. But consider this paradox. While the state was perfecting methods of killing, prisoners were staging Shakespeare, transforming themselves through art into something approaching human dignity once again. The Sing Sing players emerged in 1916. Murderers portrayed kings, thieves became noble heroes, and for brief moments, the distinction between actor and criminal completely dissolved. Jimmy Durante performed here before his Hollywood fame. He looked into convicts' eyes and saw not monsters, but men hungry for applause, recognition, and the simple acknowledgement of existence. You must understand, these weren't mere entertainment programs. They were revolutions in wooden theaters, proving that creativity could survive even in humanity's most punitive architectural expressions of vengeance. Willie Sutton, the gentleman bank robber, spent years perfecting escape plans with the same methodical precision he'd once applied to cracking safes and studying security systems. His 1952 escape remains legendary. Through tunnels and sewers, past sleeping guards, Sutton proved that even the most secure prison couldn't contain truly determined human ingenuity. The riots came in waves. 1929, 1943, 1983. Each eruption reflected society's changing relationship with punishment, rehabilitation, and the meaning of justice itself. During the Great Depression, Sing Sing overflowed with desperate men who'd stolen bread, robbed banks, or simply existed while poor. Poverty had become a crime deserving imprisonment. Warden Lewis' laws revolutionized the system between 1920 and 1941. He believed prisoners were neighbors temporarily separated from society, not permanent outcasts deserving endless punishment. Under laws, men learned trades: printing, farming, manufacturing. They weren't just serving time, they were building skills, preparing for lives beyond these walls that might actually matter. The baseball team, the Sing Sing Black Sheep, played against outside teams. For 9 innings, the distinction between criminal and citizen vanished in clouds of summer dust. But darkness always returned. Guards developed their own psychological scars. Some became sadistic, others compassionate. The prison changed everyone who entered, visitors, workers, and prisoners alike. Meet Captain Patrick McDonald, a guard who served 30 years. He watched men arrive as predators and leave as broken spirits. Sometimes he wondered who was really imprisoned. The 1970s brought new horrors: gang violence, drug epidemics, overcrowding that turned cells into human storage units. Rehabilitation programs withered like plants without sunlight or water. Crack cocaine flooded American cities, and Sing Sing filled with young black men whose only crime was being born into neighborhoods where survival often required breaking laws. The media painted these men as super predators, monsters beyond redemption. Society demanded longer sentences, harsher conditions, and the complete abandonment of any pretense toward human rehabilitation. Yet even in darkness, light persisted. The rehabilitation. Through the Arts program began in 1996, proving that creativity could still transform lives others had written off. Men who'd never spoken publicly suddenly performed monologues about fathers they'd disappointed, children they'd abandoned, and dreams they'd buried beneath layers of anger and shame. Clarence Macklin, serving 25 to life, discovered acting accidentally. Through Shakespeare's words, he found his own voice, powerful, articulate, and surprisingly capable of moving audiences to tears. The theater became sacred space where murderers portrayed lovers, thieves embodied noble characters, and for brief moments, everyone glimpsed who they might have been given different choices. But here's the cruel irony. While prisoners were discovering their humanity through art, politicians were campaigning on promises to make prisons even more punitive and dehumanizing. The war on drugs created a pipeline, poor neighborhoods to courtrooms to cells. Sing Sing became a warehouse for society's most inconvenient problems: addiction, mental illness, generational poverty. Life sentences multiplied like cancer cells. Men entered young and died old, their potential buried beneath decades of concrete walls, steel bars, and society's insistence on permanent punishment. Yet some transcended their circumstances. Sean San Jose, serving life, became a playwright whose works premiered at major theaters while he remained locked behind unforgiving walls. The COVID pandemic arrived in 2020. Sing Sing became a death trap, aging prisoners with compromised health systems trapped in overcrowded conditions, perfect for viral spread. Suddenly, society confronted uncomfortable questions. Do we want prisoners to die of disease? What does justice mean when punishment becomes potential death sentence through governmental negligence? The prison industrial complex had transformed punishment into profit. Private companies made millions housing human beings, creating financial incentives to maintain high incarceration rates regardless of social costs. Meanwhile, victim families struggled with complex emotions. Some demanded eternal punishment for those who'd caused irreparable harm. Others advocated for restorative justice programs emphasizing healing over vengeance. Sing Sing's walls have witnessed America's evolution, from a young nation believing in rehabilitation to an empire obsessed with punishment, and perhaps back towards something resembling mercy. The old death chamber stands empty now, converted to storage space. Old Sparky was dismantled, its wooden throne no longer needed for state-sanctioned killing rituals. But the deeper questions remain. What do we owe people who've caused terrible harm? How do we balance justice with mercy? Can anyone truly be beyond redemption? Today's Sing Sing houses men whose crimes range from shoplifting to murder. Each carries stories, some tragic, some horrifying, all undeniably human in their complexity and contradictions. The visiting room fills with wives, mothers, children, and friends who refuse to abandon people society has discarded. Love persists even in humanity's most punitive spaces. Educational programs continue despite budget cuts. Men earn college degrees, learn trades, and prepare for futures that may never come if parole boards remain unmoved by evidence of change. The Hudson River still flows past Sing Sing's walls, carrying away autumn leaves and winter snow, indifferent to human concepts of guilt, punishment, redemption, or the passage of time. Some days, you can hear laughter echoing from the yard, men playing basketball, sharing jokes, momentarily forgetting they're surrounded by 30-foot walls topped with razor wire. The theater program survives, transforming murderers into Hamlet, thieves into heroes, and proving that even in darkness, human creativity finds ways to flourish against impossible odds. Staff members develop relationships with prisoners that complicate simple narratives about good and evil. They witness daily evidence that people can change given opportunity and support. The mailroom processes thousands of letters, some containing legal documents, others love letters, many from children asking why daddy can't come home for Christmas dinner. Suicide attempts spike during holidays when the distance between normal family life and incarcerated existence becomes too painful for some minds to bear without breaking. Yet others find unexpected peace in accepting responsibility for past actions, while working to become people worthy of eventual forgiveness from victims, families, and perhaps themselves. The library remains sacred space where men escape through books to worlds beyond walls, finding in literature reflections of their own struggles, failures, and possibilities for transformation. Aging prisoners develop chronic illnesses that cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands annually. The state spends more keeping sick old men locked up than most people earn yearly. Meanwhile, young men continue arriving daily, products of failing schools, broken families, communities ravaged by poverty, and a society that criminalizes mental illness and addiction rather than treating them. The cycle continues: crime, arrest, trial, conviction, incarceration, release, and often return. Sing Sing's revolving doors spin endlessly, processing human lives like an industrial assembly line of despair. Walk these corridors at midnight, and you'll hear America's conscience whispering through the darkness. Are we the society we claim to be when we abandon hope for redemption? Sing Sing stands as monument to our contradictions, simultaneously housing society's most violent members while occasionally producing its most eloquent voices calling for justice and mercy. Perhaps the most chilling realization isn't that monsters exist among us, but that ordinary people, given desperate circumstances, can make choices that destroy lives, including their own. The real question isn't whether people deserve punishment for terrible crimes, but whether punishment should destroy any possibility of redemption, growth, or meaningful contribution to human community. These walls will outlast us all, bearing witness to humanity's endless struggle between vengeance and mercy, holding secrets of what we are when we think nobody's watching.